Federal government to ban leather export. Asia-specific stocks mix as a private survey shows China's factory activity contracted in May. Plus, oil prices notch higher on EU's Russian oil ban. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. Good to have you join us. It's time to talk business. I will start by telling you that the federal government is set to put a total ban on the export of raw hides and skins, including leather. This is in addition to the ban on importation of finished leather products. This came to the fore as the Minister of Agriculture, Mahmoud Abubakar, meets with the National Steering Committee on Strategic Implementation of Leather Policy in Abuja. Musa Babaliu reports.
These locally produced pairs of shoes introduced to the Minister of Agriculture, Mahmoud Abubakar. He rated it as among the best in the world.
Real leather, you can see that. There's nothing Nigeria cannot do, nothing.
And this is why government is pushing to implement two major policies. First is to restrict importation of finished leather products, and the second one is to ban export of raw hides and skin. Professor Muhammad Kabiru Yakubu is the chairman, National Steering Committee of Implementation Plan on Leather. He is here to brief the minister on how Nigerian leather industry will prosper if the two policies are implemented.
We want to ensure that we stop the exportation of anything leather from Nigeria, even fully finished leather. We want a situation whereby we only export products from leather.
As important as leather industry is to our national economy, it has been bedeviled with challenges leading to a declining contribution to the national GDP. Consequently, a steering committee comprising the relevant stakeholders from different ministries, departments, and agencies was set up and developed a strategic implementation plan that was launched on the 6th of July 2021.
The current market analysis of the global leather market is put at $394 billion, and Nigeria is hoping to scoop at least $1 billion from it. Musa Ali.
The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, in collaboration with Google Africa and the African Union, have inaugurated an e-commerce platform for value addition and promotion of apparel, garments, arts and crafts, cosmetics, and the beauty industry for global markets.
The world is going e-commerce, and so we cannot be left behind. Like I said earlier on, we can't be left behind. Nigeria has to join the bandwagon and sell online. So we had this collaboration with Google Africa to onboard Nigerian products on an e-commerce platform.
This gives Nigerian creatives in the fashion industry, raw materials, textile, gemstones, jewelries, and the rest of them, gives them the opportunity of getting on this platform and sell globally.
Nigeria and Namibia are utilizing their diplomatic struggle and relations to elaborate a mutually beneficial projects for development aspirations among people of the two nations. The two countries, as explained by Namibian High Commissioner to Nigeria, Humphrey Gaiseb, need to get into better deals to open up opportunities in trade, production, energy, oil and gas, while expressing optimism about the ideals of the Nigeria-Namibia Joint Commission. The envoy added that Namibia is committed to the actualization of various bilateral agreements.
We also recall that Nigeria has played a prominent role in the OAU Liberation Committee, and that through the efforts of the Liberation Committee, Namibia and the people of Namibia receive substantial support as well as solidarity from the rest of the world.
Correspondent Usman Aliu reports that Nigeria and Namibia have maintained a strong relationship since the 1960s. And moving on, DashMe Foundation, United States, has announced it has officially received a non-profit with tax-exempt status under the Section 501 subsection C of the U.S. Internal Revenue Code. Founder of DashMe Foundation, Kemi Adeosun, say the foundation is now eligible to apply for government and foundation grants, which will further broaden access to resources and strengthen its ability to raise funds for orphans and vulnerable children, victims of domestic violence and disadvantaged youth. The foundation has so far mobilized resources for projects in Lagos, Ogun, Cross River, Kano, Nasarawa, Imo, Osun, and Kogi states. The National Orientation Agency, NOA, in partnership with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, have commenced a nationwide public enlightenment campaign on the need for citizens to pay their taxes. Director General of NOA, Garba Abari, made this known at a media conference in Abuja. Kenneth Nanim reports.
In the face of global dwindling economic situation comes the need for adequate revenue mobilization in order to provide the required developmental infrastructure. To this end, the federal government is embarking on an intensive sensitization of citizenry on the need to pay taxes. The FRS is therefore leveraging the widespread of the National Orientation Agency's offices nationwide to educate the public on the dangers of tax evasion.
There is the need, therefore, for citizens to have a reorientation on how they see taxes. That is, to understand that taxes are not forced collections by the government, but instead contributions citizens make towards the development of their country.
It is important for individuals and organizations to acquaint themselves with the obligations of the taxpayer. The National Orientation Agency will work with the FRSC to produce flyers carrying this information so that it is at the reach of every Nigerian who falls within the tax payment bracket.
The FRS is also taking the advantage of the partnership with National Orientation Agency to identify challenges being faced by taxpayers, especially those in the private sector, with a view to solving them. Kenneth Nanim.
It's 23 years of unbroken democracy for Nigeria. While it's a cause for celebration, it is also imperative to take stock of economic development to build a country that we all desire. At 23, what ways has democracy aided growth and development? Joining me to discuss this is a political economist, Aliu Elias. Aliu, you're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me.
Well, good to have you at this time.
Thanks so much.
It's democracy celebration.
Yes, please.
23 years.
It's gladdening.
That's no small time.
Not at all.
Well, unbroken
uninterrupted,
democracy.
Yes, please.
Uninterrupted.
Yes, please.
And we understand that democracy actually provides a platform for economic growth. How would you assess our economic journey in this 23 years?
All right, thank you so much. To put that in perspective, ordinarily when we say underdevelopment is always associated with a military regime. And when we don't talk about democracy, we always expect development, as it were. But basically, when we see development, growth has to come first. So I think Nigeria has done well. If you look at 1999, we have a 59 billion GDP, but now we have 432 GDP in dollars. But the challenge is this: we are talking about quantitative, not qualitative. So there is the need for us to look at the two sides and balance it very. So because when we talk about qualitative, it simply means market value that Nigeria is churning out in a year. So, but looking at it qualitatively, you discover that there is need for us to balance GDP plus improvement in welfare of the citizen to make it a development. So, do we have that development? The answer is not yes. The growth, yes. Development, no. And to bring this together, you have to look at welfare of our citizen. How have we fared over time? what has changed over time, and perhaps we have to look at democracy itself. It actually brings some inequalities that we need to look at. So democracy is good for development. Are we there? Not yet. Are we on the journey? Yes. But we need
development. How would you assess the progress we're making on this journey?
Well, if you ask me, it's an ongoing progress, because 23 years uninterrupted, yet it's a good one, because we expect to expand over time. But for us to have that expansion, we need a developmentalist, a nationalist as a leader who understands what it means to bring this economy together to benefit the citizen of Nigeria. Because a lot of things, if you look at staple food that we eat, look at the price 1999, look at it now, it's not reducing, it's actually increasing. Though we expect
population is also increasing.
Yes,
production is also
inflation
increasing.
We expect.
Okay, let's look at the economy. We're talking about the economy.
Right.
We've been practicing a mono economy.
Right.
Then at some point the conversation began to change. Oil. Though it's still there, so someday it might not just be there. Then we say, okay, let's look at the non-oil sector exports. How far have we gone in this diversification? Though if you look at the GDP figures, you say, okay, non-oil exports is on the increase. You know, courtesy recession, oil prices being on the rise, the coronavirus came in and all of that. How do you assess our diversification journey so far, and how can we get
Nigeria foreign earning itself still remain oil, and that's why we say we are more of rent-seeking country. We need to change that and diversify. However, if not for the challenge of coronavirus, challenge of insecurity, I think we have done well to diversify to agriculture. I think we have done exceedingly well in that over time, because we have different policy to bring that in. And I think successful government has even brought out different policy to help us to go into farming. We have done exceedingly well there, but we need to look at other way of to better Nigerian citizen economic life. If you look at some country, let's use Rwanda for example, it's have strata for citizens where they have very poor, they have the middle class, and they have the upper class. And for this very poor, it's free education. For the poor, you pay half. So we have to identify that strata and understand Nigerians and really satisfy and better the strata. So with this democracy, it's an opportunity for us to galvanize, bring things together, go to the grassroots, understand people and better, because we cannot be at the hem of affair and look at the standard of people that are better to judge or to bring a policy for people that are maybe on the countryside, people are at the local government. You know, these are what we need to look at, to move on. So for development to come, we need to really work on our security. We need to work on better the people. You know, if you look at even the world poverty clock, at least for now we are now number 2. Before it was number 1. So we need to do more to better people so that we cannot find ourselves on that level. We said we have poverty rate, and if you look at poverty rate, it's just $2. That means every citizen that is living under $2, there's still ravaging in poverty. So we need to do more.
You would agree with me that yes, we are doing something. The country needs to do more. Looking at policy programs and projects, there's been a lot that has been put in place to ensure that the welfare of citizens is better by the day. And we're still talking about this diversification. Is it the implementation or the policies are not the right policies at the right time? What do you think the challenge is, and how do we get out of this challenge, particularly on the implementation?
Right, we have a lot of package program to better the life
for the
of
economy,
citizens.
the national plans.
We have NAPEP, you know, we have You Win, we have
that is for the social investment.
A social investment. A lot of things are put in place, but the fact remains that we need sustainability, because at the time when a government move away, sustainability of that, another person will come and bring out his own policy too. So we need a way in which we can have a way of sustaining this policy direction, because if you are going this way and that person comes around and go the other way, no, it's not good. And that's why even the present government, these are one of the things that will score them with. There's some project that is ongoing from the last government. It came in and continues, and these are the impacts have been felt. And even just let's look at it from even construction only. You know, you see some people doing dredging. The other government comes stop dredging. Do you get? And that government start on that, but for this government, they try to continue, and these are what we want to see in economy, because you can't start a particular project and imagine a dredging a particular river to a particular point, and for the next government to take over, they stopped it. Imagine the economic loss,
the loss of it,
and the impact it would have made on citizens of Nigeria. So we need to do more that will bring, and like I said, we need developmentally someone who understands the economy. Perhaps have somebody who can guide them consistently over time to achieve this thing, because we need to move above this poverty line, at least, because we have 83 million Nigerians under poverty line.
You're still talking about these figures of poverty. You're talking about figures of poverty, figures of unemployment.
Right.
What's your assessment of our fiscal and monetary policies, the reforms that have gone in that light? Haven't they gone far in addressing these issues?
A lot has gone into that, but we must agree that having done so very well in that area, we also have the challenge of global problem,
Okay.
So global problem comes at the point that you don't have choice. COVID-19 affects everyone, recession affects everyone, but we need to have a solid savings to really cushion such an effect when it arises. So because you can't say when it will happen. Most of them are force majeure, the act of God, that you cannot do anything. But when you have a good cushion to really stand this, it helps a lot. So that's why we need robust economic plan, not for immediate, but it could be 20-30 years plan, and over time we make sure that we keep to it. So if I thought there's a shake or there's a global challenge, we can still adjust and move on this policy. It's very, very key, but we need a developmentalist as a leader to achieve such a goal.
Okay, Mr. Elias, before I let you go,
right?
Inflation is a global challenge.
Yes.
We're talking about growth. Our policies are directed in growing this economy to actually recover and get stable. Yet there is a global influence, and we're part of a global community.
Right.
How do we then, with the new lending rate that we have, and the move 13%,
yes,
and with the move to actually grow the economy as it is, courtesy another challenge of a global inflation, which we're still battling with, as an economist, where do you think our strength, the directions, those institutions that needs to be better supported to create an equilibrium?
Yes, if you look at our inflation, 16.8, it's majorly food inflation driven. And when this is food inflation driven, it's a serious problem. And now we are increasing our tax, interest rate from 11 to 13%. For me, I think it will affect people from more production, because a manufacturer wants to go to bank to really get some money. From there it will do more. We are trying to really make sure we push it. It's a global problem, I must say. Even the US is struggling with their own inflation, but what we need to do more is to enable more production, not to reduce it. If you reduce it, it will bring more unemployment, because a manufacturer will go ahead because he can borrow money from bank to produce and employ people to do that more. So at this point in time, we need to do anything that will encourage employment, because employment will help what we call redistribution pressure, because when there is redistribution pressure, it brings a lot of problem. But if people are employed, the money circulates more, they pay tax more, and we have more things to really work with in Nigeria. So more importantly, when we are looking at democracy is like like synonymous to development. But for us to have that development, we need a leader that will take us to that point.
It is a transition. It is a
definitely, and that's why we need
continuity
over time.
We expect
that's
that.
What we expect.
That. Thank you so very much, Aliu Elias, political economist, for sharing your thoughts with us at this particular point in time.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Moving on, gold hit its lowest in nearly 2 weeks on Wednesday. Although prices were range-bound as safe haven, demand for bullion helped offset some sustained pressure from a firmer dollar and elevated U.S. Treasury yields. Let's take a look at prices of commodities. Oil prices gained slightly on Wednesday after European Union leaders agreed to a partial and phased ban on Russian oil, and as China ended its COVID-19 lockdown in Shanghai. Brent crude for August delivery was up 28 cents at $115.88 a barrel. The contract settled down 1.7% on Tuesday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 30 cents to $114.97 a barrel. And on the Nigerian equities markets, it extended its bearish run this Wednesday following the drop in market capitalization to 28.558 trillion naira from 52.99 trillion naira in the previous session. The all-share index recorded a marginal decline to settle at 52,974.15 basis points. 295 million equities swapped hands in 4,637 deals, valued at 3.59 trillion naira. Transnational Corporation, GT Corporation, and Corn Oil were the most sought-after equities in course of the day. And Asia-Pacific stocks were mixed on Wednesday. Let's join Boserable for update on global stocks on this first day of trading, talking about June.
And welcome to the global market. Now, European markets were uneven on Wednesday after closing May in negative territory as traders continue to access new data on inflation and economic activity. DAX and CAC 40 posted gains, while FTSE 100 dipped 0.05%. Shares in Asia were mixed on Wednesday, with investors watching for market reaction for the release of a private survey on Chinese factory activity for May. Mainland Chinese stocks closed mixed, with the Shanghai Composite sliding 0.13% at 3,182.16. Hong Kong Hang Seng Index slipped 0.56%, while Nikkei jumped 0.65% at 27,457.89. US stock futures were mostly higher Wednesday as Wall Street turned the page to another month following a volatile May. Futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 138 points. S&P 500 and Nasdaq Composite also were in positive territory. And it's a mixed trading day for African markets for the first time in the month of June, with Tunisia's Tunidex posting gains, while Namibia's overall index and South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 were on a negative territory. That's the global market review. I am Boss Sede Abel.
Thank you, Bosere. Let's now see how the Naira is exchanging for other currencies. This is where we end this episode of the program for today. Don't forget, you can access all previous episodes on YouTube. We value your feedback. Do join us again on Thursday morning. I am Benny Adams saying, stay safe.